Do I need the...
Of course.
Yeah,
Sorry.
otherwise it's going to be a little bit difficult. All right, it's over. Okay, hi, good morning. And beforehand, thank you for being here. I know you must be a little bit willing the coffee, so just a few minutes and we're going to be there, okay? So I'm Pernia. I'm a design and innovation director in EFM, and my lecture today is called Technology and Ethics, a New Design Paradigm. And we are going to tackle two concepts. One is interconnectedness and then coexistence. I'm going to warn you, actually, that you're going to listen a lot in this presentation, coexistence or coexist, products, services, interactions, and experience, okay? So this is my warning. I go this, probably. Wait. The green one. Connecting where?
Hold on.
Sorry, here.
OK, cool.
OK. So I have my little presentation, but besides the formal presentation that I just did, I would like to share with you some obsessions that I have. I'm a human, besides I'm a designer. And since around 5 to 7 years ago, I've been obsessed to trying to understand the transformation of the role of the designer. And at the same time, together with that, trying to understand what is the purpose of the designers in the different kind of contexts we find we are in it. And then, after some time, when fourth industrial revolution arrived, I started being obsessed with technology, trying to understand what is artificial intelligence, what is blockchain, what is machine learning, and all of this. And digging a little bit deeper on that, I started to be obsessed on how technologies was impacting humans, I'm sorry. And when I talk about the impact on humans, I talked about behaviors and I talked about expectations. And then you go a little bit more further in this research that has been for a while, and then you find yourself in trying to understand what is the impact of all of this in humanity, so in society. So I've been digging all of this for quite some time, and today you're going to see part of that research and some outcomes that have emerged. And I want to start actually from the trigger. What triggered me to study the transformation of the role of the designer, but also technology and then ethics? And it was this phrase of Klaus Schwab, the founder of World Economic Forum, that says, one of the features of the fourth industrial revolution is that it doesn't change what we're doing, it changes us. And I was like, what? How? And why? Because technology, for me, it was related to processes. It was related to material. It was related to the conjunction between design and engineering. So how come this was possible? So what you're going to see in the following slides, actually, are some cases that I clustered in different dimensions. And it shows a little bit what is the changes on expectations and behaviors that we're having, but also the impact of those new technology experiences, products, or interactions we're creating. So before I start to showcase to you those cases, I would like to, in the meantime that I go through them, I want you to think in three things. The first one is how our behavior have mutated with these new technological experiences, how our expectations have increased probably with this or decreased with these new technological experiences, and what kind of impact all of this is bringing to society. It could be in a positive manner, but it could be also in a not that positive manner. So I'm going to start with the first cluster. The first cluster is called networked interaction, and there are three cases. So when I talk about networked, probably it's networked data, okay? And the first case is Flizu Hotel that is in China, where basically it's an establishment when the guests enter, and they don't have any interaction with employees, because actually one of the things of Flizu Hotel is they don't have human employees. Everything is connected through technologies like robotics and IoT, okay? So you have all the experience by yourself, very seamless, and the only humans you interact with are other guests just like you. On the second one, is called, this product service is called Being a Good Doctor. It's also based in China. So basically, I call these boxes like sort of vending machine, healthcare vending machines, where in one side you have like a sort of quick pharmacy, okay? And on the other side, you have a consultation with a doctor. What happens here is the fact that, okay, you have the consultation with the doctor prescribes something, and then you go to the next door and buy the medicine. Good access, something, a new kind of behavior in the healthcare system. The only a little bit detail that is different is the fact that the doctor itself is an artificial intelligence and is not a human. And the third one is Stop and Shop. It's a retail supermarket chain in the United States that decided to grab and to adopt the technology of autonomous car and bringing into their retail experience. So basically, it's like a fridge on wheels that brings your food wherever you are. So if you think about Uber and if you think about Amazon, it's a little bit the merge of those two, and then creating the idea is to create much more convenience. The second one, I call it mirror world. So, 2 years ago, 3 years more or less, metaverse, the hashtag that it was very important some time ago, it started appearing. And actually, what the reflection that the metaverse was going on, it was the fact of trying to simulate what happened in the real world, in the virtual or digital world. And where I come here are 3 different kind of examples. The first one is the fact that NVIDIA created this fabric for BMW, where basically BMW is studying in this digital factory and in the Omniverse, how can they optimize the processes to then replicate them in the physical and optimize, and this, of course, is going to bring a lot of positive impact in terms of cost and optimization for BMW. So if you think about it, it's a simulation of the physical into the Omniverse and then having the results in the Omniverse to bring into the physical. Then the good Mark Zuckerberg, in his declaration and a statement of metaverse, keeps doing a lot of research. And actually, one of the things that you see here is that he's having an interview with Lex a couple of weeks ago, where actually the metaverse or the avatars that you see there were mapped in real time. Okay, so besides the Oculus that we are quite familiar on, he is trying to understand how he can simulate the physical world and the virtual in real time. And the other kind of case is this case of sneakers, of Retive K sneakers, where basically they were created to be sold. What you see is a little bit augmented reality, but the idea is to have this collection of sneakers only in the digital and virtual world, and only you can buy them over there, okay? And this case was very famous because actually this agency created these shoes, these sneakers, and in a matter of 7 minutes, they sold $3 million. And only you can use it, of course, in a digital layer. Then the other cluster a little bit debates on the robotic relationship that we are creating with technology. And I try to map 3 of them. The first one, it regards everyday robots. Actually, there is a part of the research of Google company that it was stopped right now, but has everyday robots. There are many things, many companies that are trying to automatize our task or try to serve us in a different kind of way, to optimize what we do and to serve our experiences. But there is a new one that I started mapping. There is the fact there is also a servant. There is the case of the NYPD robot dogs, so the patrols, the police of New York City, where they are servants, but actually the relationship that I'm seeing here is how this is going to impact the relationship that we have with cities, and actually how cities is going to evolve if this is going to become much more frequent. But the last one actually is what is very, for me, it's very, how to say, tricky but interesting to know, because there are many organizations and startups and scale-ups that are creating actually artifacts like robots to create emotional bonds with users. And this kind of research, it regards most of it elderly people and kids. So you are going to see a lot of these talking artifacts, trying to create something that is a companion, but also an emotional companion with humans. Then we're finding another type of companion that are the digital or the virtual companion. And actually, it all started with, with the chatbots, okay? Chatbots emerged many years ago. Then some of the organization acquired this technology and tried to put them into their, into their customer service and so on. Then OpenAI arrived with generative AI, and these chatbots became relevant again. So the first case is a Snapchat it's like the same as ChatGPT, but with an avatar, and it's like a digital companion that you can use, you can ask, you can talk, you can do more or less the same things like you do with ChatGPT. And then actually there is a little bit of an evolution of Meta that released this digital companion two weeks ago, where basically it's the same as the one has a Snapchat, but the only difference is that the characters that are within the menu of alternative of Meta are artists. So you can talk endlessly with Kendall Jenner, for example, but Kendall Jenner is not actually there. It's a generative AI of her. And the third one is about Karen Marjorie, that is a YouTuber influencer, that with this opportunity, amazing opportunity of GPT-4, she said, like, OK, how can I engage more, actually, with my audience? And she decided to create a date bot, so her fans could speak to her endlessly also. And she started charging $1 per minute. So you can imagine how much money she is making right now. Then we have all the part of the generative creativity. And of course, there are embedded all these softwares like Stable Diffusion and so on that you already know, and they are coming out a lot of it. But I want to tell all these three cases that are a little bit different. And it treats three subjects. The first one is Coca-Cola, who released this advertisement campaign to create from their customer the next digital campaign using generative AI. So it was something that they did, and it was very interesting to see the results. But this could be used as a strategy for organizations to get closer to that customer, to engage more, but also probably to research and try to create more value to them. The second one is Google, is Music ML. Basically the same thing of prompt design. You give an input, and more or less, little by little, you are creating generative AI is creating music. But the third one is Safe Memories, is a startup from Germany, actually, that decided to create something to change a little bit the perception of memories. Okay, and what they do actually is that if you're a trans person, okay, and before transitioning you were a girl or a boy, and now you are the opposite of what you were when you were born or what you live in your childhood, this startup gives you the opportunity to give the photos to them, and they treat the photos that represent the opposite of what you are now in a way that represents the same as you. And this, of course, it could have a very heavy philosophical kind of argument, but this is not probably the space. But these are the kind of things that also this generative creativity the ranges or the borders that we're going to have are very wide. And the last one is one of my favorites because I call it mixed environment. It's basically the search of this narrative of trying to live in between the digital, virtual, and the physical world, or instead trying to live in the hybrid way in these two narratives. And actually, we see it with Apple Vision Pro, and I advise you to be a little bit attentive of what they're doing, because it's very interesting how they interpreted these kind of mixed realities, and the interactions are very interesting. On the second hand, but to create those mixed environments, in the case of Hyundai Metamobility concept, where Hyundai is intended to create a sort of, autonomous car, but with an immersive space, actually is the conjunction or the, how to say, or the involvement of other technologies to bring more accurate or more interesting experiences in that immersive world. So the story of Hyundai here is basically a kid that wants to go to Mars in their immersive world, and they do it, they go around Mars in the immersive thing, but actually it feels very real because the robots of Boston Dynamics that they partnered with, the proposal is to be there in Mars, mapping everything that the user is doing in the immersive room. So this is also interesting. And then there is the case of ABBA Voyage, where basically it was a world tour that happened 1 year and a half, or almost 2 years ago, that was a little bit sold out. And what you see there is public with the stars, but the only difference is that actually the band itself was not present because all of this, it was made by avatars. So this is something that is happening. This is not a chapter of Black Mirror. This is actually happening. Some of these things are more evolved. Other kind of things are more in the stage of experimentation. But this kind of interaction and services and products and experiences is something that we're going to live that it's going to be more frequently in the future. But besides all of this, that it's like the opportunity that technology is bringing into the context, we're also dealing with these kind of titles, okay, these kind of headlines, where it relates and tells us a different kind of a story of technology. So the first one, more touch algorithm perpetuate racial bias in lending study find. How many news like this have we seen already, like for the past years? A lot of this, and there are a lot of software and a lot of services that are and products that are out there that are biased, and they are linked with artificial intelligence. The second kind of thing is the kind of relationship that we are creating with users. And if you see the two below, is TikTok algorithm keep pushing suicide to kids. Or he would be still here, man dies by suicide after talking with an AI chatbot. And this is part of the experience that we are delivering. So the algorithm and the data that we put into it becomes tangible, more tangible than ever if we want to create these kind of things. There is another kind of subject, though, that is happening. There is the exclusive. OpenAI used Kenyan workers on less than €2 per hour to make ChatGPT less toxic. What does it mean? When I read this, I right away started thinking in fast fashion. Fast fashion, a specific context, underpaid people. Okay, the only difference in this case is the fact that to make ChatGPT less toxic, those people that are underpaid need to see a lot of images, strong images, and read a lot of text that they could clean to give more, positive or neutral data to the machine. And then we find other ones, like the court of Deliveroo, who used a discriminatory algorithm. So it's not accidental. It's not anymore an unintended consequence. It's something that you create to discriminate. And this happened like 4 years ago already, when basically Deliveroo decided to put an algorithm for the riders who said no to the request. They could, they passed to a secondary priority when a new request come up. Then there is the case of a replica, where basically users say chatbot has gotten too horny. Again, relationship, TikTok, and the other one. And then ChatGPT is passing tests required for medical licenses. We're seeing a lot of these cases, and we don't know actually how artificial intelligence is going to get harmed, but we have something that right now is moving the market and is moving the society, and that we need to pay attention. And if we take that, I was jumping to another one. And if we take that, or we extrapolate, what I said is like we're seeing a lot of biased experiences. We are creating also, without even knowing probably, unhealthy relationships, but also the old habits that we were trying to fight for decades. They are coming up in the new world that we are inventing with technology. So probably we need to reflect a little bit beyond on that. And if we go a little bit more deeper, all of this opportunity and all of this harm relies here in data. Okay, data is the opportunity and the complexity of all this system. So it becomes the engine somehow of all this system. And if we go a little bit more deeper, and data actually is factual, and if we go a little bit more deeper, artificial intelligence could be the mirror of ourselves. When I talk about this, is because actually we have the power to influence that machine. It's not that artificial intelligence is less than us or is better than us. It's the fact that we can do it in the way that we aim to do it, actually, that reflects the values of individuals and the society. To tackle this, and we're coming to the final part of the presentation, I'm trying to tell this in two concepts: interconnectedness and coexistence. Interconnectedness because it's the relationship that we need to understand to try to tackle harm and to do more positive and fair experiences, products, services, and whatever we want to call it. But the second part of coexistence is the principle on how you undertake a new project or new challenge, but also is the output. We cannot avoid the machine, okay, anymore. It's there. It brings positive things. So we need to understand how we live healthily with this machine. And I'm tackling three concepts. The first one is, what are the relationship between humans and machine? So we have the servants, the one that are the servants, we have the digital companions, we have the creativity collaboration that is being generated by generative AI. What are the ones that already exist, and what could exist still? So we need to think about these kind of things when regards to the human and machine relationship. Then I'm tackling the fact of transdisciplinarity. When facing a project of artificial intelligence, I think it's not anymore a one-person job. It's a more people job, and we're going to deep dive afterwards. And then we need to have principles, we need to have philosophies, but we need to understand that ethics and justice, it's also regulations. And this needs to be immersed in the projects that we build in. So my provocation is like, we have a lot of frameworks. If we are designers, if some of you are designers, we have a lot of frameworks. I don't want to create another framework. I want to understand if the frameworks that we're using now can be transformed, can be hybrid to try to achieve a positive result. And what I try to do is, I'm going to grab different subjects of what I think and all the research and interactions that I've been having are saying or are doing, and try to understand how we can grab some of this thing and put it in the frameworks that we already use. The first one is about the objective. When we think about the objective, we think about the first part in the design process, that is a strategy. You need to fix the objective of that project, right? What I'm trying to tell here is that from that very beginning, you need to start adding other lenses. You need to start adding the data scientist, the developer, the ethicist, the law regulation. You need to start to set that objective to try to understand the wide picture and the wide impact of what you're creating. It's about disciplines, it's about understanding complexity, it's about bringing different perspectives, but it's also about dialogue, and it's about probably creating a new common language between different vertical experts. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. But we need to start thinking in that more hybrid kind of way to work. The second one is about impact, and when I talk about impact, I talk about stakeholders. We're used to design for personas, okay? We use user-centered design, human-centered design, but we need to widen a little bit that spectrum. We need to open it a little bit and say, what are our primary users and what is going to be the impact for them? Okay, there are secondary ones that probably are enablers or are people that are anyway connected to what you're doing. Are there entities that are going to be impact of what I'm doing? If so, which one? So let's try to open a little bit that level of understanding of the impact on stakeholders. And then I talk about characteristics. If we talk about personas, we talk about characteristics. But the human-centered and the user-centered, in this case, if you want to avoid bias in those product services and interactions from the beginning, probably you need to start from the ground zero of the design process. And you need to understand how could you become more intersectional from the beginning and not after you give the output out. So age, gender, ethnicity, physical availability. We have been talking about accessibility a lot here. What is the digital divide? What is the access to these people? So if we try to add other layers, probably the output could be improved. So from a user-centered approach, I'm challenged it to be an intersectional-centered approach. And then if we think about all these product, services, interactions, data, I just talk about data, how factual it is and how important it is. This is an important part of the design process, how the data is going to be handled and where are the fluxes of data that mechanism is going to create. Where the data comes from, is it public, is it from the government, is it crowdsourced, is it from the devices and IoT devices? Where? So these are questions that we need to start asking ourselves to have a good technological experience or product. The other one, if we go a little bit deeper, we need to talk about algorithm, but probably we are not the ones who are going to design the algorithm. But all the algorithms somehow have bias, right? And we need to understand that exist 3 types of algorithm. The ones that are pre-existing bias, so the bias that I take from the society, or that I probably don't take, but I don't consider, and then that mechanism is biased somehow, so it's from the context. Then there are technical bias, so it's about the reliability of the software or the mechanism that are using. If it create errors, there is a possibility that experience or product could be biased as well. And then there are the emergent bias. The emergent bias relates to the fact that if you create a product or a service and you create it for a certain context and a certain people, if new people enter or if you put that in a different context, it's going to be biased because there are going to be different people that are going to impact the mechanism itself. So we need to take into account this. And then, if I talk more widely about interactions, if I imagine interactions, I think actually about customer journeys, and this is something we are very familiar. And customer journeys are about a progressive kind of way, step 1, touch point 1, 2, 3, and so on. But when you think about technology, I don't think it's the way to think in this progressive kind of way of journeys that regards new technologies, because it's not that you put artificial intelligence here and a little bit of IoT there. You need to understand, so my invitation is we need to understand and acknowledge and to know those technologies to understand how they're going to fit in one experience that could be merged together with IoT, augmented reality, machine learning, NFT, smart contracts, but we need to get to know them to try to create one experience that involves different kind of technology. So it's about data, it's about touch points, it's about technology. And then there is the other one that I call co. When we read the word co, for us is co-design. It's involving other people, okay, in our process to be more effective for them. So it's co-design and co-creation, it's co-validation, it's everything. But one reflection, and this is a particular open discussion, so I haven't found the solution yet, but I'm trying to understand how we can improve in this part. Think about when you do the research part, you're doing the surveys. You do surveys to find the what. You do the interviews or the focus group to find the why. But if you're going to talk in your process about bias and you want to familiarize with bias to avoid it in your product or service, you need to understand the feel, actually, of people. And trying to understand this is very difficult. It's not enough with observations or with interviews. You need to understand how can you actually create an empathy in another way? So one of my, how to say, I'm trying to speculate if there are new ways of trying to create this empathy 2.0 where you can actually not feel what they're feeling because it's going to be impossible, but what kind of mechanism you're going to enable to reach that goal. One of the subjects is to enable those people to design, but I don't know, this is an open question, this is an open slide, so I'm going to leave it like that. And the last one is actually curate, and when I talk about curation, I talk about experience. And once your product, service, interaction, experience is out there, and it's in regards to new technologies, you have to understand that that thing evolves in the time. And it's not like, oh, it's in the market, bye. No, we have a kind of new responsibility of how we can warranty a good experience somehow, endlessly for those products or whatever we're designing. And probably during the time, we need to start asking that machine, what bias do you have? Do you have new bias? Who are we including? Can we still enrich that kind of mechanism? And this is the last one. So my theme is trying to understand if in that process, all these subjects that probably are going to increase because the complexity for sure is increasing, are some of the things that we can add in different steps of our frameworks and how we design or how we approach projects, actually. So Coexist is this, actually. In a more tangible way, it's a newsletter that I write all these reflections. Somehow, if you want to take part of the discussion, I will be glad to be part of the discussion with other people. But also, I'm starting a new kind of thing about being a community. And actually, it started a little bit last year in collaboration with Service Design Drinks Milan. Well, we did three events. It was very focused on designer, but my idea is that this year needs to be more transdisciplinary, so I need to have more lenses that gave us more effective answers. So this is it, and thank you very much.